This video will be all about scary stories. Enjoy.
One night there were three friends walking down the street. They were just laughing, having fun, until they got called to come home. So they all said, we'll all walk each other home, because they had a lot of strangers that would like to kidnap them. So they all walked home. And when they were passing one house, a man comes out and says, "What are you doing? You know what time it is?" And they go, "Dinner time. That's like 5. What? Why? You have to get inside now, or else you might die." So they all walked a little faster to get home, so they didn't want to die. When they were walking, they noticed that the man that told them to get home fast was following them. They turned around and said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I'm making sure you make it alive." So when they made it home, he was still there watching them. Instead, the two friends said, "Can we come in? I don't want this guy to follow me home." So they all, and the one friend said, "Sure." So they all went in the house. The man stood right outside their door for a couple of minutes without knocking or ringing the doorbell. They kept watching him and see if what would happen. As soon as you know it, he was gone, like a blink of an eye. No one knew what happened. So that day they said, "Well, I think we can." So later that day they thought they can go. The two friends can go home. So the two friends start walking to their house, but then the guy is back. He said, why aren't you inside?" And the boys go, "'Cause that's not our house." And the man goes, "Well, you better get back inside now, 'cause down that street there's someone gonna kill you." So they thought this guy was starting to get more crazier. So they didn't listen. They started walking faster and faster to get away from this guy. But soon they found out that guy was trying to kill him. So when they found out that that guy was trying to kill them, they started running, because the guy, well, he was starting to run after them. So when they made it to their houses, they both locked the door and called for help. The first kid called his friends and said, "Guys, the guy is back. What should I do?" And they all said, calm down. Call the cops fast and hide." So call the cops and hide. So he called the cops, grabbed a weapon, and hid. The guy busts through the door and says, come out. There's a killing happening." And the kid goes, and the kids still stayed quiet. The killer checked every room in the house, and when he saw his foot under the bed, he got his knife and stabbed his leg. The kid screamed and screamed and screamed. Luckily, the police came just in time. The guy ran into the woods, and the other two friends were fine because the cops made it to their house. But the third friend had a big cut, and his leg got cut off. They never saw that man ever again. Story 2.
The forest entity. So one night, a group of friends thought it would be fun to have a sleepover in a tent. So they did. They waited until midnight to go outside and go in the campfire, go near the campfire, and they waited and waited. For about 30 minutes, they saw something in the woods. It had a bright light. Then, whenever they blinked their eyes, it was gone. They saw it again an hour later. They got scared and went in their tent. Then they just went down the road. They heard a thing saying,
I see you. I know where you live.
and they all got scared. So they decided to go inside because they thought they would be not safe in the tent. And it was 3 a.m. whenever they wanted to go to sleep in the house. They forgot to close the window. Two of them were awake and one of them was sleeping. And one was afraid, why don't we just close the window? And then the other kid said, no, it's fine. We don't have to fully close the window. All because there's a tiny little crack and doesn't mean anybody's going to watch. So they all went to sleep. They all woke up. They decided to have another sleepover. And so they did. But in the morning, they didn't notice. Their friend said, hold on, I'm going to go check in the tent. They waited and waited for an hour. He didn't come back. So they got worried and they went out. There was blood, they thought, but it was just Kool-Aid everywhere. But they couldn't see their friend anywhere. They got scared. And they were like, okay, so we're going to have another sleepover. We just got to find Johnny. So they went out looking and looking and looking for hours. And they saw something move in a tree. The branches were moving. They were like, oh, it's probably windy. I feel wind. But no, it was the tree entity. It watched through the places where the squirrels go in the tree. And so they was scared. They never had a sleepover at that kid's house ever again. But right as all of them left, they found Johnny right before they left. And he was fine. He just had a little cut on his knee. But he tripped and fell, he said. But no, he didn't. When he got home, he was scared to go in his forest because he left all of his stuff in the forest from the other day. So he went back into the forest and he saw a tree move. He was like, it's probably the wind. Then he got a tornado warning. And so he thought, oh, it's probably just a tornado. But no. More and more trees start moving. And he saw a mouth on the tree. And then it said,
Hey, still want your stuff? Why don't you come? I got it.
and the kid goes in the woods. His friends try calling and calling and calling him for 2 hours. No answer. They call more times. They call 5 more times for about 2 hours. Nope, he does not answer. Missed call, missed call, missed call. And they're scared. So they all ask his mom if they could go have a sleepover. They said yes. So they went over, but they never found him ever again. And it says no. And the neighbor said, run, you got to run. There's a thing that moves and it switches trees and trees and trees. It's like a dark figure, the neighbor said. One kid believed him, the other thought he was just joking around, but the other kid was scared. The kid went home. The kid that thought everything was fine saw
the tree entity.
And the tree entity was shaped like a tree. But little did he know, it was not a tree. He was just looking at the tree because he was bored. So he tried calling his friend. No answer. He tried calling his friend 2 more times. Missed call. And missed call. He's scared. Then his friend answers and says,
Hi.
and the friend gets scared. And then they just say, oh, it's a joke. Like, we just need you to come over, like, now. If that's fine. But no, they were outside in his driveway. He was scared. And then he saw a dark figure. And it was 3:30 at night. It was 3 a.m. And everybody knows that's the weird time of night. And he opened his window, but then he forgot his window was open. So the entity jumped through the window, and you have never seen the 3 kids ever again.
Story 3.
There were 3 kids that were having a camp out right outside of their house. So they wanted to go in the woods to explore. They went in the woods, put some music on, and little did they know that those stories told that there was a very, 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 very dark figure in that woods. And whenever they heard that story, they didn't believe it, so they tried to prove the story wrong. So they went inside the woods for about 30 minutes, came back out, and they said that there was nothing. And so one kid was scared because he believed the story. Another kid was just joking around about the story, and the other kid was just fine. He wasn't really doing anything. And then, so they went back in the tent and were trying to go to sleep, but they felt like something was watching them. So they went to the road, and so they just took a walk down the street, and then just went back up. They went back inside their tent and just hanged out there for about an hour. Then at 3:33 a.m., they come to the street and they hear a scream for help. And so what they do is they run back to the tent and say, what was that? They look through the window of their tent and they see a black figure standing right on the road. So they all get scared and trying not to scream, they all say, run! And whenever they ran, the figure chased after them right inside the house. And it kept knocking on the door for 3 hours. And whenever the sun came out, it just disappeared in a blink of an eye. Nobody ever saw that creature again. Nobody ever heard that creature. Nobody ever